Well, hello. My name is Jamie J. I'm the CEO and founder of Bottleneck Distant Assistance, where we help stop the bottleneck in your business. But that's not why we're here today. Today, we're here because we're going to be talking with Iron Mike Steadman. So stay tuned. We'll be circle back here. I'll introduce you here in just a moment. We're going to be talking to Michael Steadman about managing a nonprofit and for-profit venture. If you're in business, you're going to want to stick around because he's going to show you how to stop the bottleneck in your business. All right, so let's jump into this. Hello. It's Jamie J. I'm the CEO and founder of Bottleneck Distant Assistance, where we help stop the bottleneck in your business. But that's not what we're here for today. This is Live with Bottleneck. So we are live right now. If you have questions and you want to ask Mike, please do so. It's okay. Yeah, I know he's a boxer, very successful boxer, but don't worry. He's not going to be punching you. So if you have the guts or you just are interested in asking the questions, no fear. We're really nice here, so ask away. If you're seeing this in the replay, by all means, type a question in the comment or a suggestion, and I'll make sure to get those over to Iron Mike Steadman as soon as possible. So Michael Steadman is the founder of IRONBOUND Media. And we're going to be talking today about managing a nonprofit and a for-profit venture. We might even pop in a couple other things. Who knows where this conversation is going to go with Mike? He's pretty fantastic fella. So how can Mike help stop the bottleneck in your business? Let me tell you. Mike Steadman is the founder and CEO of IRONBOUND Boxing Education, a nonprofit organization based in Newark, New Jersey that provides free amateur boxing training, entrepreneur education, and employment opportunities for Newark youth and young adults. Mike and his partner, Keith Colin, oversee the IRONBOUND Boxing Academy, the free boxing gym for youth in Newark, New Jersey. Mike is also a 3-time National Collegiate Boxing Champion from the United States Naval Academy. And he's a Marine Corps Infantry officer with deployments to Afghanistan and Japan and Philippines. Mike trains CEOs and nationally ranked boxers. Outside of boxing, Mike's provided consulting services to a billion-dollar corporation around veteran entrepreneurship. He also serves as an advisor and brand strategist to Dope Coffee Company, an Atlanta-based e-commerce brand. In conjunction with Dope Coffee, he hosts a weekly podcast entitled Confessions of a Native Son. You got to check that out because it's amazing, where he shares his perspective on race, culture, and business. Through his efforts growing IRONBOUND boxing, Mike has established himself as a high-profile veteran advocate and a new face of social entrepreneurship. So without any further ado, please allow me to introduce you to the one and only Iron Mike Steadman. How are you, bud?
What's going on, Jamie, man? Thanks for having me on your platform. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this is fantastic. You've done a lot in your I'm gonna call you young life. And you're just going 60, 70, 80, 100 miles an hour all the time. I wonder if you can kind of give us a little background for the people that may not know you yet, so that we can find out kind of what you're up to and, what you're doing and all that kind of cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, my name is Mike Steadman. I go by Iron Mike these days because if you lived in Newark, New Jersey, in the midst of a global pandemic, you would be Iron too. But all seriousness, my organization is IRONBOUND Boxing and IRONBOUND Media. So I got my entrepreneurial, how do I say this? I got my passion for entrepreneurship really when I was at the Naval Academy. I was a 3-time national boxing champion, 2-time most valuable boxer, and captain of my boxing team, and just had a great experience boxing. But for those of you who don't know, midshipmen, I like to joke that I didn't win 3 national championships boxing a bunch of midshipmen. I learned boxing in inner city gyms in Baltimore, DC, Brooklyn, and I just felt like every time I went inside these gyms, there was a lot more people that looked like me, and unfortunately, they felt like they didn't have any options outside of the ring. They felt like their only option was either to turn pro or go back to the streets, and I felt like this was a broken system because at the end of the day, I was a Naval Academy guy. Me and my peers were going to serve in the military after graduation. We'd be officers, graduate from a great university, and then, serve our country and get out, start our own businesses, work in corporate America, you name it. And I wanted kids in the inner city to have that same opportunity. And so once I completed my military service, I decided to relocate to Newark, New Jersey. I didn't have any friends or family here. I just had a stint at a private school called St. Benedict's Prep that I taught leadership at during my summers at the Naval Academy. And so I just felt like it was prime ground to relocate here. And so when I got out, I moved here with the intent of starting a free boxing gym. And that became what is the IRONBOUND Boxing Academy, our flagship gym here in Newark. And that was my entrepreneurial journey, is really just me starting out saying, hey, I want to fund free amateur boxing training for youth and young adults in the inner city. I approached the city of Newark. A guy named Obelijah Baraka gave us a free space in the back of a leaky recreation center. We flipped that thing into a boxing gym, about $9,000. And then I was off to the races. And so, and we don't talk about this a lot for some reason, entrepreneurs. You see this book up here behind me. It's called Third Shift Entrepreneur by a guy named Todd Connor. But really, when I started Ironbound, I was working a full-time job. I had accepted a job at St. Benedict's. So I was running a giant residence hall of 70 teenage boys, primarily Black and Latino, right in the heart of downtown Newark. I was a glorified house dad. I fed them, put them through study hall, and put them to bed. And while doing that, I was also, running my gym and then also going to graduate school at the time. So it was like the ultimate hustle. But, one of the things I realized was I wanted to really grow Ironbound and make it something special. And I got the bug of doing it full time. And so I transitioned away from my full-time job at St. Benedict's and jumped into, the entrepreneurial hustle. And to be honest, like, amateur boxing is not like $1 million sport. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I don't charge kids for free. I don't charge kids to train. So it's like, how am I going to pay my bills? And I stood up a for-profit arm of Ironbound, teaching boxing to companies in the New York City metro area. And so I would go on site to companies like WeWork, Spotify, Next Jump, and host boxing classes as a form of employee wellness for their staff. And that was how I was covering my bills, paying my expenses, lifestyle, a little lifestyle brand,
Yeah.
I was enjoying it. Like, teaching boxing classes at Spotify HQ in New York City. It was great. It was fun, but the pandemic hit, and all of a sudden I had to shift to virtual classes. And you can see I'm a personal guy, right? Like, I like engaging people, and doing classes on Zoom in my 1-bedroom apartment just was soul sucking, especially when people didn't want to cut their cameras on. And at the time, I had started a podcast, in February of 2020, right before the pandemic, called Confessions of a Native Son. And, Jamie's company did a beautiful website for us. So thankful and humble for you to do that. And I realized that, there's an opportunity in the space to help brands and organizations launch podcasts. And so, I got my skin in the game, doing my own show. And then I was, while I was in the hustle of teaching these boxing classes, literally sweating on camera all day, every day. And I was like, man, I can't imagine being a professional athlete, because all I got to do is get up here and teach these 45-minute, boxing classes. I couldn't imagine having to go out there and play professional football or basketball or boxing when your body's like beat up and sore. And so I did a soft exit away from corporate boxing, started producing podcasts, and here we are. So, I know that's a bit of a mouthful. There's a method to the madness, because, one of the things this show is talking about, managing a nonprofit and a for-profit venture. At the end of the day, you've got to cover your bills. You got to cover your expenses. And depending on what kind of programs you do on the nonprofit side of the house, it takes time to get the kind of funding, to cover your expenses full time. And so what I found is, I don't even call it cheat code, but I was just like, hey, let me leverage a for-profit venture to allow me the space and the creativity and the freedom, to focus on the nonprofit, which is my real passion. Because, as leaders, a company, when you're not taken care of, it's a little bit of a stress, right? You can't really focus, and you make mistakes. And so, the for-profit just gives me a little bit of cushion. It also allows me to employ my kids, God willing, as they start to get older, and then also have some cash to pump into the nonprofit for some fixed costs. So that's the goal, that's the dream, and that's what I'm working on.
I think that's awesome. So many people want to do things and give back, but they have to find the way. Because first, if Iron Mike doesn't take care of himself, there's no way Iron Mike can take care of any of his businesses, profit, nonprofit, kids. you got to take care of yourself. And I just applaud you for having the wherewithal to just kind of push through that and figure it out and get it done. Because that's not easy stuff. You know, running a nonprofit is just as hard or harder than running a for-profit. It's the same thing, only you're trying to help people out that need whatever it is that you're assisting them.
Yeah, it's in my early days, right? People used to say, hey, you should do one for-profit or nonprofit. Don't do both. And I'm like, what are y'all talking about? We're making like, we probably had like $300 in the bank account on the nonprofit side of the house. You know, it's not like you're just rolling in dough. And to be honest, I deal with amateur boxing in the inner city for Black and brown kids, right? Like boxing is a poor man's sport. So to be honest, it's always been that way. And outside of the professional game, right, there's not millions of dollars funneling into amateur boxing. So you also got to look at the market. Like, is there really, I mean, you know, I have high aspirations of making this organization a powerhouse in inner city youth through boxing and entrepreneurship. But when it was just boxing, you know, like the donations weren't the biggest. You know, you got to be realistic. It's just like you got, sometimes the market tells you as well too. There's like a market pull that you start to feel. But now that we're kind of growing, I do see what people mean in the sense of like, once you're off the ground and you're up and running, it is a hustle and it is a challenge managing, you know, two entities.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine it. Have you heard of that? This is a little side note, but have you ever heard of Evo Athletics? I have not. So the reason I bring that up is because Evo Athletics looks at, I think it's Evo Athletics, maybe it's not, but it's Evo, I forget what it is. It's some kind of, but basically what it is they look for up and coming like boxers or golfers. Like they just signed a golfer who just recently turned pro, but he has not on the big PGA tour yet, but they look at race car drivers, boxers, things like that. And they kind of see and scout them and say, hey, in 2 or 3 or 4 years from now, these people are going to do really good. And so they can get all kinds of people to invest in the Evo players. Right. And I think it's really neat because it kind of helps people in the amateur ranks or early on, instead of having to, you know, if they really want to do something, they're sitting there working 3 jobs and boxing, you know, training and doing all of that stuff. Whereas these pros, you know, that's all they do. They just play their sport, you know, because they're getting paid. But it kind of levels the playing field. It gives more money to these people that want to be better. And it's kind of like a scouting thing. It's pretty neat. I'll have to find that link. I'll put it down there. I'll send it to you. But it sounds like something maybe you know some kids around there that may have an opportunity. It might be a good way of introducing them. Yeah, send it over. Yeah, I think it would be fun. So back on track, little sidebar there. What do you have going now? Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. So the bottleneck, right? Like what was the bottleneck? And you actually helped me with that. I want to, you know, Jamie's a veteran. And so once we connected, it was all love. And he was just like, how can I help? You know, we were going over systems and things. But, you know, I'll tell you on the let's start with the for-profit side of the house. I have podcasts, right? I help brands launch podcasts. So I have my clients and I'm managing that. But there's also managing the workflow of the 2 podcasts I host, which is almost like businesses within a business. And it's like, what are you doing? You know? But getting that workflow dialed in, you know, I transitioned over into Notion. I think I told you about that. And start organizing stuff. It's still taking some time. You know, I just need that focused effort. But the main thing is, you know, just getting everything to work like streamlessly. That's what if I can say that. And being consistent. You know, that's another thing about me. I think my personality is it's very hard for me to like do something the same way forever. You know, and I'm sure there's stuff that I do already. You know, I already have my like the way I, you know, get up in the morning or do stuff, whatever. But it's just like I kind of have like that. I don't know, if like a ball starts bouncing, I want to go chase it. You know, I call it ESS. Yeah, entrepreneurial squirrel syndrome. Entrepreneurial squirrel syndrome is perfect. And so then I start like, I don't know, piling stuff on instead of just kind of staying focused and just really getting efficient at the things I already have. Because, you know, people say you're successful. People say you're crushing it. You know, for those of us in the hustle, we don't always feel like that. Right. And I'm not exactly treading water. You know, I'm not going to say I'm treading water, but it's like
it's still a hustle, man. You know, me and you were talking before we get on here, you know, because the hardest thing for me now, you know what the biggest bottleneck is? Input. You know, and I need people to protect my input. Like, it sounds arrogant, but it's just like a lot of stuff shouldn't even just get to me at this point because it overwhelms me.
Was it hard for you to say no, or was it on the other side? Maybe it was more exciting for you to say yes, to kind of look into different things.
I think it was more exciting.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just my personality, right? There's no way I would be where I'm at, you know, if I wasn't interacting and helping people. You know, helping people is the best social currency in the world. And over time, like, whether it's like having somebody on my podcast or making an introduction or whatever, I mean, you made time for me, you know, just out the blue. And that's really like where a lot of the success comes from. But at the same time, you know, when you're have to focus on getting stuff done, all these different inputs, hey man, you got time for this or whatever, it can get overwhelming. And I like to equate it to this because you're a military guy too, you'll get it. When I went to the infantry officer course, right after I graduated college, you know, I did my little initial training with the Marine Corps, and then I went to the infantry officer course. But I noticed that once I left to go to the Marines, like, my phone, people quit reaching out to me. You know, it's like when you're cool, you know, I was like captain on my boxing team. I felt like the man on campus. I was a 3-time national champ. I always had text messages coming in. People were always calling me, you know. Then I graduate and I'm in the Marines, and all of a sudden text messages start to go down. You know, you come out the field, you go to the field for like a week and you come back, all of a sudden your missed calls, you only got like 2 missed calls or whatever. You're like, okay, people still love me. Then you go to the infantry officer course, and it's this feeling like nobody loves you, you know? And it's confirmed when you go to the field for like 3 weeks and you come back, no missed calls, no text messages. And I just remember how depressing it felt at the time of like, literally, like, nobody loves me, nobody cares about me. What I wouldn't give for that stuff now, you know, in the age of like,
what you wish.
Yeah, 2,300 emails, you know, 280 text messages. And it's like, dude, I feel so overwhelmed sometimes. It's like I just want to hide from people, you know, like the old timers in the house. You just want to cut the lights off. They're like, I know, I see a car out front. I know he's here. You know, why is he not answering? You know, and that's honestly how I feel right now. There's just so much input, and I don't even think it's from. I don't even know if it's just from people reaching out, but I think it's just this online culture in general. You know, It's like the social media, which, you know, can be addicting, the YouTubes and all this stuff that we're supposed to do for our businesses. But then every time you get on there, it's like you got to fight the other distractions. It's like, you know, getting on YouTube is just bouncy balls all over the place. And you're just like, no, I need to look at this one video and get this information. But again, it's just all this input. And so that's what I'm struggling right now is protecting it. Is like, I don't know, just protecting what's coming through and only making sure it's only the most essential stuff. Because for us as leaders, you know, a lot of decisions come down to us, unfortunately. And the energy it takes to make a decision, whether it's respond to an email or choose this, right? Like,
Xavier says sometimes we have to go back to the field mentally.
Yeah. So Xavier is one of my Marines. We served together in the Marine Corps, and we're Afghanistan. And so he knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, man, you couldn't just come up to the lieutenant back in the day. You know, so staff sergeant, what you going to the lieutenant for? Well, we need to, no, don't bother lieutenant. You know? And he's right. You do got to go back to that field mentality.
Yeah. Well, you know what, too, is you said you got excited about all this different things, you know, reading books and learning from that, and all the ideas that trigger from a book go into this and this and this. Oh, I got to go do that. And you want to do all these different things. You want to do it right now. And that's a big challenge. And so I think you kind of have to weigh it. And I think what you're doing right now is really good. Sending out your blanket email. Hey, you're going to have limited access to email. And there's little things that people can do but we're creatures of habit, right? So email, if I go in and check my email, right, I'll check it 5, 10, 15 times a day, just really quickly. But I'm a big fan of zero inbox. So when I see that little 3 or 4 up there, I want to go get rid of them. But some people go, I'm only going to check my email in the morning and the evening. And they're very strict about it.
Yeah.
And they let people know that. And if you can kind of start changing your habits that way, I think you've done a brilliant job of taking your mornings for yourself when you have the most energy. And then in the afternoon, that's when you have your meetings. Mine, I have Monday and Friday.
Yeah.
I don't do anything else, but Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I do my meetings and all that kind of stuff. And they're all mapped out to my calendar, to my schedule. And I adhere to that. I rely on my calendar massively.
Yeah.
And that just kind of guides me. Right now, all of my devices are turned off, and no, you're not going to hear any bells or dings or anything like that, because I'm 100% focused on where I'm at now. And I think that that's really helped me. And it's what I like about you bringing this up is, hey, we all struggle with this. And while you may not be treading water, it may still feel like sometimes you are treading water, because there's so much stuff coming at you and you're like, and I can't tell you how awesome it is on Mondays to kind of have a day where I don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
No, I don't take calls. I don't do anything on Mondays.
Yeah. The only thing I do on Mondays is record podcasts. Right. And I save that for the evening because, it was just this, how it is, you roll into Monday and it's like, it's like, you can't even just catch your breath. And I was just like, this is not how I want to live my life, and I started, and it's been gradual, right? I've grown comfortable doing this stuff. And again, when I was like making $200 a week teaching boxing classes, I couldn't do this at the time, but it was like, hey man, like I want to take Monday mornings off. I might have a little quick stand up or something, but other than that, like getting out of the rat race of just fires on Monday, and especially in the Zoom age now, this pandemic and switching to technology, every day was starting to feel like a fire day. It's like you're in Zoom meetings all day and you don't even have enough energy to actually do the work that needs to get done. And I just, I looked at my schedule one day and I looked at my calendar and I just told my admin, and I got my admin before I had met Jamie with Bottleneck. But I told him, I was like, look, I'm not taking any more meetings before 1:00. I have one client that I work with, and we'll have like a stand up. But other than that, I don't take any meetings before, 1:00 because it just, it's awesome. Like, we don't talk about this enough as business owners. And that's why I'm excited about your book coming out and the content you're doing, like these kind of platforms. But like, what does success look like? Oh man, you're killing it. You're killing it. People look out of shape, haven't taken a vacation in years. It's like, are we really killing it? By what you mean? Or are people like healthy, fit, loving life? Can you see the vessels on their brain? The stress is down. Like, to me, that sounds like killing it. And it's like, how do we get there? And it's different for, different people,
Yeah. In this age, everybody puts post pictures of, it's the success and all that kind of stuff. But, you got to be careful of that stuff. You really do. I have no problem throwing out there, what my challenges are, in the hopes that maybe somebody else can relate to that and say, oh my gosh, yeah, there are real struggles like this. I love sharing the fact that I was homeless, and I love sharing the fact that I've been married multiple times. Not the fact that I love sharing that, but I put it out there because I have effed up a lot.
Yeah. And
it's not all roses, pink elephants, and lemonade. Right. So it's nice to have you kind of sharing, your challenges, even though you're thriving. In my opinion, I think you're thriving. I think you're doing fantastic. But
it's like I said, when you start looking at everything, right, especially us as veterans, people see us doing the stuff we do and they dream of being able to do it, whether it's launching that gym or starting that business or whatever. But so many people are scared to pull the trigger. So when they see us out there doing it, it's like we're living a different life, but it's like, it's still a hustle, man.
It is not easy.
Hustle. Yeah.
You start getting into that stuff and then you go, wait, what? Workflow?
Right.
Process?
Right.
What? Taxes? What? Bills?
Yeah.
You can't, it's you. You can't, there's no one else really. I mean, unless you're fortunate enough, someone like you can surround yourselves with some really good people. Maybe masterminds or good groups where you can actually confide in people in such a way that, maybe they can help through some of their own experiences. I highly encourage people to join masterminds or groups like that. I think it's just fantastic way to help relieve a lot of that stress.
Yeah, man, you're preaching to the choir. So I joined a group called the Lions Pride out in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. My business coach, Bill Watkins, and we got a cohort. And it's been a game changer for me. Just having people it's almost like you're going through the hustle with them.
Yep.
And it really paid for itself during the pandemic. Back when everybody thought it was the end of the world and a week felt like 3 months, stuff as information was coming out, right? To be able to have a group of people to lean on and talk through stuff and just like this feeling that like we were all in it together, leading our businesses, that was super impactful for me. And, when I was talking to my accountant about it, I was like, why don't more nonprofit CEOs take advantage of business coaching? Because, whenever I come across something great, I try to share it with other people. And, when I talk to people, they're like, oh, we can't afford this or we can't afford that and whatever. But it's like, what can we prioritize? And one of the things I've found is like that mastermind, that business coaching experience is literally like lifeblood for me as like a leader, as a nonprofit executive, for-profit executive. Because I'll tell you, our nonprofit, we probably had like, when I started, we had like $300 in bank account. Then the next year I did something with the website. I put a big giant donate button up there, and then we had like $3,000, on the website. And then to go into the pandemic, have my gym closed down, right? Because of all of that, right? I was partnered with the City of Newark Recreation Center, dealing with that. The economy is depressed. Everything's shut up and boarded up, right? If there was ever a time to like throw in a towel, it'd have been like in that moment. But because of my group and the people I surround myself with and just my personality in general, we had our best fundraising year ever, and I can't take that credit doesn't just come from me. It's also, I set conditions using military talk, to make that happen. And I will say a big point of that was, being that business coaching. I would have never had the confidence to hire an admin. My business coach was like, you need to hire an admin. I'm not hiring an admin. Are you crazy? Like, I'm not even taking a salary. You're talking about hiring an admin? What? But at a certain point, you're on this hamster wheel, and it can be what we're talking about, where you're overstressed. You can't even make decisions because you got so much input, or you're just like your business is working, but you're like the Wizard of Oz back there. You're moving all this kind of stuff, and at a certain point, you have to decide you want to get off the hamster wheel. It ain't just gonna magically happen. Sometimes you got to rip the Band-Aid off. So first thing I did was I got a business coach. Second thing was I ripped the Band-Aid off. I hired an admin. And, there's going to be, and I think going back to what we're talking about today of like all the stuff I've done before got me to where I'm at today, right? Being the face of the brand, being out there, being social, talking to people, it's not going to get me where I need to go next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You always need getting to that next level. You need to learn new things. Yeah. And that's what I appreciate about you, because you are super confident, but or I should say, and you're like a sponge. You're so eager for knowledge. And I think that's a fantastic combination. And a lot of people that lead in today's world are not. And I think it's a shame, because more people, I think, need to lead with kindness, or lead with, knowing that, hey, I'm not the end all be all, but I have a goal and I'm determined to hit it.
What I have to constantly remind myself, and this might be a little bit hokey for people that aren't into like spirituality, universe, and energy and stuff, but like
woo-woo.
A little woo-woo. You need a little woo-woo to be an entrepreneur.
Hey, man, you do.
Yeah. Did you ever start a company? For y'all that tuning in, if you haven't started a company from scratch in your bedroom, you need woo-woo. Writing a business plan is like writing a novel of fiction, to be honest, right? You got to imagine it.
Yep.
But one thing I've come to accept is like the universe is neutral. It just is. It exists, and that's why people talk about having a positive mental attitude, right? Having affirmations, all the woo-woo stuff, because you can mold the universe into whatever you want it, your reality. And when you think about that, right, and you look at your landscape and it's like, okay, what kind of business do I envision? What kind of company or what kind of personal life do I want to have? Do I want to be a writer? Do I want to do all this kind of stuff? So if I want to do that stuff, I got to read and learn how to do it. It's like solving problems over and over, which is why you need to have that mindset of always learning. You know, that's why I read, and that's why I'm a sponge, is because I've got to soak in information to manipulate the universe into what I want it to be for me. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah, I'm tracking 100%. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So I do want to respect your time. We are coming at the into the half hour here. So what's next for you?
Well, honestly, the big thing is thought leadership, to be honest. You know,
Thought leadership.
at a certain point, like I've consumed so much content and knowledge, and which is why I need to protect that time, because to get to the next level, now I have to start putting out some IP. You know, it's beyond just the hustle. People have seen what we're already able to do, you know, and now I need to paint the vision for the future. And the only way I can do that is having the quiet time to think, respond to stuff, you know, as a nonprofit executive, making sure I'm publishing my newsletters, you know, and really owning the vision, right? And sharing the vision to make people become a part of it. And that's really my focus. And I have a couple platforms I'm able to do it on, you know, podcasting and writing, but it's really protecting the time and protecting the energy to allow me to focus on that stuff.
Fantastic. So what is a successful day going to look like for you here in the near future?
A successful day, writing every day. So getting up in the morning, knocking out my workout, making sure I'm writing, right? And it can be a newsletter, it can be anything, but I just need to spend an hour writing every day. That's the goal. Spend an hour writing.
Wow. Good for you.
Making sure I'm working out. And then just focusing on the most important task and getting it done for the day. Even if it's just one thing, you know, because the reason I think the input is overwhelming is because I have tasks that haven't been completed, and then it just builds up into the bottleneck that you're talking about. Instead of just saying, hey, I'm going to focus on this budget today. I'm going to do the budget. Might take me 2 days. Once I do that, boom. Now it's like, oh, you're only focusing on this one thing. But the fact of it is that's a big accomplishment in the grand scheme of fundraising and all the other stuff that you have to do, you know, focusing on that one thing for the day, you know, building out my podcast workflow, making sure it's solid, because once it's solid, guess what? Now it's streamlined. I can have one of my producers come in and, you know, handle the podcast and stuff. And so really just focusing on succeeding, you know, getting up, working out, writing, executing the one thing. If I get the one thing done, maybe I'll do the other thing. And then this is where you're ahead of me, is leaving the rest of the time for friends and family.
Oh, nice.
So that's what winning looks like for me.
Man, congratulations, man. That's pretty cool. I just, yeah, hats off to you for coming as far as you can have in such a short amount of time. And yeah, you're going to be already a force to be reckoned with, but you got a great future, good head on your shoulders. So congratulations to you. How do people get in touch with you?
Super simple. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Iron Mike Steadman. I think I'm the only Iron Mike Steadman on there. Follow me on Instagram at Iron Mike Steadman. And my email is mike@weareironbound.com. And if you email me, you're going to get a response that says my admin set up that limited email availability. But my admin will, you can follow my admin. They'll get you scheduled.
Good deal, man. That's a good deal. Anything else you'd like to say before we wrap?
No, man. Jamie J is a good guy. I'm telling you, he's a real deal. So if you're tuning into this, definitely reach out to him, man, because, you know, from the minute we met, it was nothing but love, and really helped me out. And I appreciate that. And, you know, even just watching the intro to this live stream, I'm just so blown away. You know, like I'm still having to do a lot of that stuff, the graphics and everything. You come on here, it's all professional. I'm like, Jamie's got it down. So, and buy his book too when it comes out. I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mike. Yeah, I can't wait. That's probably one of my biggest pain points right now, because I'm in the revision area, and you like writing. I have a really hard time with writing. I'm terrible. So that's painful for me. But
it's not that I like writing. It's that writing is, I don't know, man. It's a way to share ourselves with the world, our uniqueness. You know, and it's one of those things that like a lot of people don't do, right? Like everybody talks about writing a book or whatever. How many actually do it?
Yeah.
You know? And I want to do it. And so the only way to do it is to be a writer, you know. And what does a writer do? A writer writes every day. So
that's right.
That's the goal.
Well, good for you, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. And anything else before we wrap?
No, man. I hope getting a lot more leads with bottlenecks.
Well, thank you very much. And it's called Ironbound Media. Is that right?
Yeah, our nonprofit is Ironbound Boxing, and my podcast production agency is Ironbound Media.
Okay, so I just wanted to put those up there for people to know. And then thank you so much again. Do you have just a couple minutes and I'll wrap up real fast?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. Let me wrap up. We were talking. Thank you so much to Iron Mike Steadman. Freaking amazing person, amazing human being. If you are getting into the podcast world or you're in the podcast world and you just don't have the time to set up your show, have Iron Mike reach out to him and have him produce it for you. Seriously, his system is pretty freaking sweet, and that'll really help you out. So feel free to reach out to him. I'll put all the links in the show notes, and you'll be able to find them all in the notes here. So any way you want to reach out to him, I highly encourage you to do it. And even if you email him, Mike at weareironbound.com, you'll get the message there saying that he has limited response, but his admin will get back to you and take care of you. So this has been an episode Live with Bottleneck. A couple things here real quick. You can go check out our new Live with Bottleneck TV. It's hundreds and hundreds of episodes on all kinds of stuff like this. You can go in. I am writing a book, as he said. This is not the cover. It's called Quit Repeating Yourself. One of our favorite sayings here is do something as if it's the last time you're ever going to do it. I have to take my hat off to Scott Beebe for sharing that with me. We've been talking with Mike Steadman today, founder of Ironbound Media, about managing a nonprofit and a for-profit and what he's doing to kind of work those things out. So I hope you enjoyed that. Coming soon, I'll be talking with Meredith Elliott Powell. She's the president of Motion First. And we're going to be talking about Thrive, turning uncertainty to a competitive advantage. That's coming up Tuesday, May 18th at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. So please tune in for that. Meredith is fantastic. You're going to love her. Without any further ado, I'll go ahead and wrap up today. But remember, create your own ripple.